Reboot. What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of the Go Grab That Day podcast. I'm just going to do an old reaction video to UFC 281. I've just watched it. Just when you think the sport, I don't know, when you think the sport can become somewhat predictable or somewhat give you some sort of an idea of what's happening.
Are you stupid or something?
No sport like it. I don't care what anybody says. Still trying to gather my thoughts after watching it. I watched the main card, watched everything, and then caught a bit of the reaction afterwards. Just nuts. So I'm going to quickly give my thoughts, my reactions to it. Also, before I begin, I put up a prediction, my prediction for the fights. Man, I was off again. I wasn't way off this time, as in I wasn't all 5 fights wrong like I was last time. I got 1 or 2 right this time. I predicted, I was pretty off. But anyway, just don't listen to me. I'm going to give my predictions anyway for the crack. But yeah, running down through this card, great fight for Carlos Ulberg. Great finish. Congratulations to him. He's going to be one to keep an eye out for. And the fight to kick off the prelims, Andre Petroski and Wellington Turman. Just going to quickly point out how good a fucking fight that was. The grappling exchanges were class in it. Molly McCann got absolutely outclassed by Erin Blanchfield. I made a massive error on this fight. I picked Molly McCann as a big fan, a huge fan of her. I completely mistook Erin Blanchfield for someone else. I remember watching a couple of her fights, and I was an idiot for thinking Molly McCann was going to get. Honestly, I probably would have leaned towards Molly McCann anyway, just because of her hype, because of she tends to thrive in some of these big situations. But I should have paid more attention to Blanchfield because she is a very good fighter. And my God, she proved in this fight she completely outclassed Molly McCann. I mean, Molly McCann didn't look like she belonged in there with her. Dominic Reyes and Ryan Spann. This one I did pay attention to. Dominic Reyes, I feel, has not looked the same since fighting John Jones. I just think a bit like Thiago Santos actually. I just think Dominic Reyes, I'd like, and I know I've no place really to be saying this, but as a fan I would like to see him take some time off. He's had some nasty knockouts. And Ryan Spann put his fucking lights out. The knockout by Ryan Spann was a jab. Almost like a jab turned hook. They talked about it in the broadcast. He kind of half jabbed with the arch and the hand. It was a mix of the two, but there wasn't a whole lot of arch or swing into it. And he had enough power to put Ray's lights out. Now, he did land another 1 or 2 shots after that, but the first shot put his lights out. Ryan Spann has got crazy fucking power. To put Dominic Reyes out like that with a little, as Reyes is coming in, just put his hand was almost, the right hand was out in front of him anyway. Was it left or right, whichever his lead hand that he put him out with, was close to Reyes, and he just popped it, and he had enough power as he turned the hand to put him out with that sickening power. And then he said to Joe Rogan afterwards, Rogan asked him what has changed, and he said, I trained. Said, I haven't trained for any of these fights, nothing more than 3 weeks, which of course you take that with a pinch of salt maybe, but if that's fucking true, that's scary if Ryan Spann is only now starting to train. Great win, great finish, shocking power. Brad Riddell versus Renato Moicano. I was rooting for Brad Riddell in this one. I just wanted to see him get a win. I think he's a lot better than what he's shown in some of his last fights. Being honest, he didn't look, to me, he just didn't look himself in this fight, whatever it was. And of course, that could be all down to his opponent as well, who's like Renato Moicano is quality fighter. But Riddell just looked like he couldn't get going. The reach of Moicano was really bothering him. But then, he just, when Moicano locked up the choke, he was on Riddell's back and he locked up the choke. Riddell posted both of his hands and kind of stayed that way, almost waiting for, I don't know, was he waiting for Moicano to get tired? But I mean, even me as an amateur of all amateurs, I know that when you're in a choke, the first thing you do is you fight the hands. And Riddell didn't do that. I found it very strange. Not taking credit away from Renato Moicano, who I'm a massive fan of as well. What a post-fight speech as well. He gave one of the best post-fight speeches I've heard in a while. Go back and watch that for anyone that hasn't seen it. It's brilliant. Kicking off the main card, we had Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. Also rooting for Dan Hooker in this one. Badly needed to bounce back as well. He's another guy who's been on a bit of a skid. But my God, did Dan Hooker bounce back. He looked probably the best I've ever seen him in this fight. He completely outclassed Puelles. And Puelles kept kind of diving for, a heel hook, kind of rolling into the heel hook, or the Imanari roll as they call it. He'd done that a few times. Now, he did have Hooker in a bit of trouble on the first one. Oh, excuse me. I guess. With respect to Puelles, I feel like Hooker mentally and physically broke him. There's not much more to be said. He actually broke him. He looked very, very good. He kind of made a call out to fight on that Perth card in my brain has left the building. February the 12th, 2023. Moving on, we had Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez. This one broke my heart. I think I said in my prediction that it broke my heart to bet against Frankie Edgar. I didn't think he was going to win this fight. I just hoped he wasn't going to go out like this. But he did, unfortunately, with a knockout via knee in round one, which, it's not nice on his final fight. But look, I thought... try again. I thought DC was very good in, obviously it was a sad moment to see Edgar go out like that, but DC was very good in saying, most of our heroes, especially in this sport, they go out on their back. It's not a sad moment. Frankie Edgar was lightweight champion. He had a great career. He's most likely, I don't know for sure, I'm not his accountant, most likely has money, in the bank, and a chance of a loan, Frankie.
McConnell wants money!
Congratulations on a brilliant career. Congratulations to Chris Gutierrez, who in fairness, great fight, great win. Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Isn't it great when you have two fighters or a fight that you just know what to expect no matter what? This fight's going to live up to the hype. And it did. It lived up to every fucking bit of the hype. We are blessed, I cannot say that word enough, blessed to have the likes of these guys in the UFC and in MMA. They're both a rocky story. They're both the rocky story in real life. Like Dustin Poirier, how many times has it happened where he's in a fight and he's losing, he's up against the cage and, someone's fucking teeing off on him and he comes back to win a fight or to take over the fight. Same with Michael Chandler, lays his body on the fucking line, and the strength he had to twice pick up Dustin Poirier. He had him up on his shoulder at one point, like one-handed. Fucking insane. I mean, what a crazy fight. I remember Dustin Poirier, like he's up against the cage and Michael Chandler is just wailing on him with punches, and he's just about getting the guard up. Animals, absolute animals. As I said, one thing about this fight is we win. We win this fight. We win by this fight. Announcing fights like this is why MMA and UFC is better than boxing, because you get these fights. You don't have to wait. You get them. I love this sport. But what a win for Dustin Poirier. What a way to finish by choke as well. Interesting that they showed it on the broadcast. Poirier said that at one point, as you saw Poirier doing a lot of giving out to the ref during the fight, we couldn't really pick up what it was. And I thought, because I know Michael Chandler had hit Poirier with hammer fists in the back of the head a couple of times. I thought that's what it was, but no, he said that Chandler had, when he was trying to get the rear naked choke, so he had Poirier in one arm and he reached into his fucking mouth and tried to pull his head up like that way, like he was fucking trying to open the mouth of a crocodile or something. But then they showed it on the broadcast and he actually did, he reached in, he pulled. So naughty. Now, Chandler did say that it wasn't purposeful. I don't know. I would imagine what he was doing was trying to reach down for the chin and pull up, and then the hand maybe did go in the mouth, but he definitely did try and pull it up. And at another point, then Chandler blew his nose, all the blood all over Dustin Poirier.
Ew, you nasty ass bastard!
Look, it's a fight. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this would be different if Chandler went on to win the fight, but he didn't. Poirier won. Mental. Absolutely mental. Just never let you down. Moving on. Hard to believe there's still 2 more fights after this. Carla Esparza versus Weili Zhang. I had a feeling with this one. I did get this prediction right as well, thankfully. See, I'm not all that stupid. I figured Weili was going to be far too explosive, powerful, just better on the feet. And she was. Nasty. She's another very entertaining fighter. Look at the difference when you see Weili, her dexterity with her kicks, her murdering the pads, whether it be hands or kicks, just, you know, you hear the echo when she hits them. And of course, pads are always to make it look good anyway. I'm just saying, shut the fuck up. She looked better she looks better all around. Her training, just, I was worried for Carla Esparza in this one. And yeah, I think, like, that's the women's strawweight is a class division. It's a real deep division. You know, you could see that belt change hands like it has been doing. But I think Weili may prove to be an undisputed champion in that division. She may hold on to the belt for a bit. She's looked better to me. You know, she started to show some wrestling defense and wrestling offense. Now, she didn't do much offense in this fight, but just in previous fights, her striking has always been good. But she's just looking, she's fitter. She's even more explosive. She's vicious. Yeah, I thought she looked very good. I mean, then to finish the fight via submission. Another thing I picked up on, just to point out Weili's strength, she was trying to lock in the rear naked choke. And she had just had one hand in, trying to get the other one free to lock it up completely. She went palm to palm, I believe. Relax. She went palm to palm. When she had the one hand in, it looked like Carla Esparza was struggling already with one hand. So that's a show of the strength of Weili, that she was making Carla struggle with just one hand. Yeah, she's a beast. Like, Weili Zhang is a beast. You know, I think I'd worry about anyone coming up against her now. You know, I know Thug Rose Namajunas, obviously, you know, finished her via TKO previously. I don't know if that'll happen as easy again. You know, I'd worry about anyone coming up against Zhang now. She is going to be tough for anybody. She looks to only be getting better, and she seems to be gathering momentum in terms of fans and stuff like that. Her English has gotten better. I know people might say that doesn't matter, but it does, to get fans on your side. And the transitions in this fight, like the grappling, was really fun to watch. There was so much scrambles and stuff like that. That was a great fight. Weili Zhang, bravo, look very good. Can't wait to see your next fight. Then moving on, of course, to another one I got wrong. God, this is how crazy the sport is. So, of course, we had Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. Yeah, it's a crazy fight. I mean, the whole fight, I picked up on, you could see, not fear, there was no fear in Adesanya, but you could see the awareness of Alex Pereira's power, especially when he got backed up against the fence. You could see that's where Pereira would have the advantage, and he looked dangerous every time. And then you kind of see, it looked like Adesanya's kind of starting to put his stamp on it. He starts landing some jabs. He almost finishes Pereira in the end of round 2, I believe. Catches him with which wasn't a late punch, because when the punch starts to be thrown before the bell, if it lands after the bell, that's not illegal. That's some facts for you ass. But yeah, just insane. Couldn't believe he got finished in the final round. Obviously, as we all know, I'm a big fan of Adesanya, but this is why the sport is so cool. In comes this big fucker who shouldn't be at middleweight. After, in his 5th fight, wins the UFC middleweight championship. Brilliant. You know, as much as I feel bad for Adesanya, which I do, I mean, again, that's not a sad story. What a story for Pereira. What another fun match. Yeah, this is what the middleweight division actually needed, to be honest. Again, I didn't want Adesanya to lose. I'm a big Adesanya fan. But as a fan of the sport, this is what you want. Now there's new, fresh blood. Do I think he's going to hold on to the belt long? No. And not necessarily because of Adesanya. He might actually be Adesanya's kryptonite. He might be in Adesanya's head. That's 3-0 if you count the 2 kickboxing and now MMA. You know, he might just be his kryptonite. You know, I would imagine we're going to see a rematch. That, of course, will tell all. But let's say you see a rematch, Izzy wins, then you got to go again. Which, I don't see anything wrong with that. But if it goes any other way, and we all know what I'm like for predictions, so get your money in early. But if it goes any other way in terms of like, if, let's say, Izzy takes a bit of time off, whatever, there's some interesting comments from Izzy, actually. I'll touch on that in a few minutes. But if Pereira fights anybody else, like Whitaker, that's a fucking hard fight. Vittori, what's his name? Jared Cannonier, any of those guys, fucking tough fights, all boys who can grapple, and not guys who are strikers trying to grapple. These are grapplers. They will have no problem firing a double leg, getting you on your back and keeping you there and punishing you. The guy is fucking huge. He is huge. As soon as that fight kicked off and the two of them came from their corners, and why we call them corners, because it's a cage, from their corners into the centre, Pereira looked far bigger, and apparently they're the same height. It didn't look that way at all. He looked far bigger, far wider. He's a scary fucking dude. He is one big, scary motherfucking striker. Apparently he was 211 pounds heading into that fight. So to give those of you, who wouldn't pay as much attention to the sport, to give you an idea of what that is. So they weigh in the day before, and they have to weigh in at no more than 185 pounds. So by the time he fought, Pereira weighed in at, I believe it was 184 and a half. And then by fight night, he's 210. That's some fucking weight gain. And you only do that when obviously you're naturally a big fucking dude. Big boy. He's a big boy. And he's a powerful, scary fucking dude. But credit to Adesanya in the, in the way he handled it afterwards. Thought he was pretty humble. I find that a lot of these guys that go on these mad title runs with a lot of pressure on them, sometimes it's a relief to lose the belt for a bit. I think it's a great way to reset, and I know, look, they probably disagree with me saying that, but I'd imagine that the pressure, heavy lies the crown, all that shit. So he'll be back. But yeah, man, madness, crazy. Sport is nuts. I can't handle it. But the interesting thing about, just talking about a few minutes ago, Adesanya talking in the post-fight press conference. He made it very quick, but he was kind of alluding to things about having to look after his health. And he made some interesting comments talking about Chadwick Boseman, saying how, people need to remember that when everyone poked fun at Chadwick Boseman about being skinny, and then they realised he was sick. And then he said, yeah, and people poke fun at me for having I don't know if most of you know, but people have always accused Izzy of certain things because he's got like an extra bit of boob fat on his right or left, I don't know which one. And sometimes that can be an indication of steroids, but obviously it's not. He's tested all the time. But he kind of alluded to that, and then talked about Chadwick Boseman, and then said how he had to get some health things looked after. So, touch wood, it's nothing too serious. I was a little worried when I heard him saying that, but maybe it's just checkups and stuff like that, and maybe Izzy meant it in the sense of like, stop being assholes online, which, he's right. But I thought he was humble in defeat, and, hopefully take some time. Great champion, great fucking fighter, the greatest striker this sport has ever seen. Regardless who wants to argue with that, I'll argue with you all day. But yeah, folks, what a fight card. Madness. What more can you fucking say? Please subscribe, support us, all that stuff. Peace out. Talk to you again soon. I love you guys. Go grab that fucking day.